Like,
of Prospect. James, this is the first film James and I have written and directed together. A wonderful experience, as anybody who's made a film will know. Went through all different types of emotions, but incredibly positive overall, and really proud of the finished article. I guess, you know, in terms of how James and I met, we actually originally met doing stand-up comedy, which is one of the more random places to meet. And I guess through doing countless gigs to not very many people in cellar bars, after a while we decided we wanted to do something we felt had a little bit more soul to it, and that's exactly what we've done with Prospect.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the film, why you wrote it?
Yeah, essentially. I think James is on mute. James, unmute yourself so you can.
I was saying a few things.
I know I talk a lot, but I don't want to steal all the fun here.
Basically, the reason why we made Prospect is, like James said, we kind of had mutual interests in film and kind of the wider comedy as well, and we also were massive fans of boxing as well. So we decided we want to make a film very much about boxing and very much about our own personal experiences growing up. I grew up in a council estate, as did James, and we kind of come from a similar kind of social background. So we wanted to make a voice that was much more representative of those kind of voices. So that was really inspiration behind making Prospect. The idea that you have an opportunity to change your life, or limited opportunities to change your life from certain social economic backgrounds. So that was the reason why we decided to pursue that.
Yeah, I think also a point to make is when we initially came up with the idea, our initial thing was, let's make a film about boxing, and within boxing, we always want to tell stories. We're driven by stories about class, really. I guess is like James says, it's our main remit when we're writing together and everything that we're writing now. And within that, there's all different types of stories that you can explore. And as we were writing the script, when we first started writing it, it was quite wordy, to be honest. And as we kind of looked at it more and more, we always wanted to tell a far more, we didn't want to make another Rocky. First of all,
yeah,
that wasn't going to be possible. Secondly, it's kind of been done more and more. The story we wanted to tell, boxing is the foundation of this lad who's living a very insular life, essentially comes from nothing and doesn't really have much support, or doesn't have any support around him. And boxing is the only opportunity that he has, even on a small level, to do something positive and productive with his life. And I guess the story, if we're saying anything, is how many people that come from nothing, you might have one or two chances at certain points of your life, and if it really is on a knife edge. It's really on a balance. Anything can pull you away from that at any moment in time. So, but we wanted to tell an insular story as well.
And it's about making those decisions. Yeah, like it's just one or two wrong decisions that can. Yeah, as James says, you don't get many chances to have another bite of the cherry again. So it's in Daniel's case in Prospect, he lives a life that's very, very tough for him, and he makes one wrong decision at the end, and it defines potentially, because the ending's open-ended ending defines his life. So it's that's kind of the through line.
For sure.
You said to begin with, you both really love boxing, and you kind of wanted to make a film about boxing. Do you think boxing as a sport, in particular, gives that opportunity to people who perhaps don't have many other opportunities? What is it about the sport that you like and that gave you the inspiration?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that boxing is one of the few sports that gives people the opportunity to do it, because it's a blood sport. It's a fighting sport. It it's because it is, you don't have to go out, you don't have to box, you don't have to fight. It's very synonymous of the kind of environment that you're going to be in. You're going to be fighting, you're going to be up against the whole time. So I feel that the sport of boxing is very much encapsulates that kind of that struggle more than any other sport that I can think of.
Absolutely, second James's thought. I mean, boxing itself instills a discipline in individuals from a young age that they'll take through life with them forever. So wherever you come from, there's a camaraderie that essentially exists in a boxing gym where people from all different backgrounds or all different racial heritages go in a boxing gym and are essentially equal. And that's one of the truly, for all, it is a blood sport, so there's obviously always that argument about violence and stuff, but really that's the golden nugget for boxing. And to be honest, just even the real life actors that we had in our film, boxing has changed their lives. Just to give you a little bit of background, Emmanuel, the main character in our film, who plays Daniel, he boxed from a young age. He grew up in Canary Wharf. Boxed from a young age, went a fairly well-established gym over in East London. Through that discipline, he pushed on at school. He's now, making waves as a young actor. Was in the National Youth Theatre, signed, auditioning for some great stuff. And then a couple of the actors we used in the film, it was their first time in any role. Jonathan, who plays Benni, not a particularly nice character in the film. I'm sure he won't mind me saying this. Jonathan. He's a young guy. He's 17 years old. He had some problems a few years ago at school. He had to leave a couple of schools, and he joined a place called the Boxing Academy, which is essentially a charity developed to help kids that have had problems at other school get through their academic subjects, but also instill discipline in them through boxing and so forth. And through doing the film, Jonathan, who's already changing his life, has now signed up to loved the experience so much that he signed up to do performing arts at college. He's now in the National Youth Theatre, and he's started amateur boxing as well. He's having his first few. Was meant to have his first amateur fight a couple of months ago, but he will do after this. So I mean, boxing, it means a lot to us as people. It means so much to so many people, and it's definitely something we wanted to explore for our first project together.
Cool. Does anyone have any particular questions about the film? No, maybe not.
We're happy to wrap it on.
You're happy to what?
We're happy to wrap it on if we need to.
Yeah, if you want to tell us more about like the process and from writing together, how was it writing as a duo and directing as a duo?
Of course.
I know you hadn't done it before, but
yeah,
I had experience because I did film at university. So I did 3 years studying at uni. So my background was film. I had an A background in film for a while, whereas James's background was he did English at university. So he's much more from a writing background. So over the kind of years, we developed our own individual styles, and then just realised that we meshed really well together. But we only started. The process took about a year for us to kind of get the script together, because we realized that we were kind of meeting up every other week for a few hours, and we realized that process was probably not the most because it wasn't the best way, so we had productive ways. So actually we decided to do it much more frequently, and we actually did independent research, and we kind of like researched together about like formatting and like script writing, and kind of like working out beats and kind of figuring out the best way in which we can tell that story, as the most kind of dramatic way we can do that. And we, through that kind of research and that kind of coming of heads together and working with each other, we did that I think we initially wrote it for 6 months, and then we kind of restructured it. So I think it was about a year in total, wasn't it? So
I think from the production side of things, obviously we kind of came into this quite green, really, and it's the best education ever, just jumping in, and I'm a great believer in just jumping in at the deep end, really, and learning about, making mistakes as you go and learning from them. And I think from the production's point of view, which no regrets whatsoever, we took on a great deal on our own. So as well as the writing and the directing, we essentially produced the whole thing, costumes, locations, all of that aspect. So, I mean, we certainly learned quite quickly that there's a lot of pieces to the pie, which we were aware of anyway. But when you find yourself actually in that, it's a lot to think about. So I think as we were writing it, we knew the story that we wanted to tell, and then it was a case of, we had to, for a short film, we actually had quite a few locations that luckily we used my flat for the indoor stuff. Managed to get somebody put a foot through a wall at one point, which was lovely as well. And then we obviously had to get in touch with like a local boxing gym, Croydon Boxing Gym, who we formed a great relationship with. And we've worked with them again. Obviously the Boxing Academy, who I mentioned. The casting process, we saw a number of actors who were all great, and it was just like Emmanuel in particular had a vulnerability to him that we just felt really, really represented the role of Daniel incredibly well. So then that was obviously the pre-production phase. And in terms of the making of the film, we were just incredibly lucky that for all of our vision and all of our desire to make something great, we're surrounded by people we know very well who are, we had a great DOP in Ross Turner, Paul Cook supporting him. I can't name a few names. Paul Cook, a guy who works as
the James Gorman, Fard Hashmi.
Not sure how relevant these names are to anyone else, but Jose on sound, loads of different people that came in and essentially offered their, working professionally every day. And had a bit of time in the diary that that was another thing. We had to juggle people's schedules because, we had to work around. They were essentially offering their services for free with some fantastic kit that if we'd hired to use in reality, it would have cost us about 90 grand, which certainly wasn't possible with our limited budget. And just, for all of our vision, the film, as everybody knows, involved in any creative project, it just wouldn't have been possible without the help of so many great people coming together, and it was a real team effort. So that was fantastic. And then once we had 4.5-5 days of the main shoot, then we had to get a few more. Had a couple of pickup days. And then by the time we looked over the footage again, we just had so much footage that we had to go through it. So that was another thing we learned. It's certainly, it's sometimes when you've got the shot, and just to move on and so forth like that. And what can you get in a shorter space of time, maybe? And then the editing process with Fard, who's great, really, it became. We had the vision of what we wanted, and I wouldn't say it became a different film in the editing room, but it certainly became a better film in the editing room than what we kind of initially maybe conceived. So I mean, I really am rabbiting on here, but that was essentially the process, and it was a much used phrase, but a true labour of love and a really, really great educational process that the next projects that we're working on right now, lockdown, that we're trying to make use of this time and be creative. We're working on another project at the moment, and certainly we're going to use the prospect was such a wonderful experience that we can really take that knowledge and into our next stuff essentially.
Someone's just asked the question, how did you find your characters when writing the script? So I guess, were they based on people you knew or people you'd come across, or did you just sort of imagine? I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to...
No worries. No, not really. It was it was a mesh really of people that we know, people experiences or situations that we've been in boxing rings. I know that James and myself have been to boxing rings, for a number of years in London. We've kind of met characters, or we've met people who are very similar to that. So there wasn't anyone defining a character that was based on anyone. It was just more representative of people from, that kind of demographic, really.
there's so many characters in a boxing gym, and so many different it's. I struggle to think of many different It's such a great minefield to bring stories out of it, because everybody's a character, and everybody has some form of story, whether they're a kind of bravado type person, or whether they're someone like Daniel, which is the type of character we wanted to explore, very much more an incident guy. It's a real nugget in terms of
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Story. So yeah, like James says, I'd say a mishmash of a few people.
And what's next in terms of, you said you've been working on some stuff. I guess you learned a lot from making this first film. What do you think you might do differently next time round?
Well, what's next is me and James have been writing on lockdown. Prospect was very much a kind of taster to what our vision was after this, which was to write a 6-part series set on an estate in London, and be very much a social story. So each episode will have different characters and focusing on an individual story. And you would have a series of characters from the previous episodes crossing over, and you kind of see them as in the estate as it happens. So you might see one of the characters down the local shop or something. And we very much wanted to include that almost clocking off aspect of building a drama set in one particular place, with many different people's stories and many different, all from, because you go to any estate or any place in London, and there's just such a vast array of unbelievable, incredible stories that people have. So it was very much, we wanted to recreate that based on our own experiences. And sorry, what was the other question?
Well, there's a couple actually. So someone also said, do you plan on doing anything else with Prospect, developing it further into a feature, or are you sort of done with that and you're going to move on to the next?
James can answer that
one. I guess James in kind of just to follow on what James is saying. So the first episode of the thing we're currently working on is based on Prospect. Really, it's an expanded version of that where we're going to explore. We're going to explore each character on a bit of a deeper level, and then obviously, within a 10-minute film, there's always stuff. You come away, and as proud as you are of it, there's always things that you think, oh, maybe we could have done that slightly, in a positive fashion. Maybe we could have done that slightly different. And so now we're kind of writing these sort of 50, 60-minute episodes where, we're going to explore the relationship between Daniel and his mother a little bit more, and we're going to explore the relationship between the Benni character a little bit more, and that kind of aspect. So we did consider writing a feature for Prospect, and as I'm sure never say never to anything, but we're deep in this episodic writing at the moment. And we really like the way that's going. It will require a slightly bigger budget, of course, so that's going to involve speaking to a few more,
famous
companies. but in terms of what we can make ourselves, we're looking to make. We're looking to, when we can, we're looking to make some more shorts. And I think one thing we learned, which we're really excited about actually, is how can we tell stories, the same kind of story, but in an even more minimalist way? Like, we wrote a lot of locations into that film, and the logistics of it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's great. Again, it's a learning curve. The logistics of it became quite hard at some points, and it almost you don't want that to conflict with the creative process. So it's kind of, we were producing it all and everything ourselves. So we're really keen on the idea of exploring more shorts, just from in an even more minimalist way. But
certainly the amount of days as well. I think we ended up shooting with pickups maybe 13 and 14 days for a short film of only 8 minutes.
Yeah,
we probably want to get that time down to maybe 6 or 7 days probably shooting.
And we watch so much of it. We watch so many, so many of the films that we love ourselves are all minimal. Like, they're the ones that we love. Like the kind of minimalist, character-driven stories.
Yeah.
But you can tell that there's not a load of money being spent on them, but the stories are there, and we kind of that's our angle we want to go down, really. So yeah, I mean they're the next projects, but essentially just to keep writing and keep being creative and try and get as many, like everyone, try and get as many people as possible to see our work.
Do you prefer the writing process or the directing process? Or do you like doing both? Both of you.
I'll go first if you like, James. To be honest with you, I like both processes. It's a bit of a nothing answer to a question, but I think there's benefits. I think they both complement each other as well. Certainly the writing aspect made me a stronger director, and certainly the direction spirit experience of working with actors and working with crew and working with situations in which we can eke the best kind of drama out of it made me a stronger writer. So I see certainly the benefits in both, but I enjoyed them both equally. So I'm not sure that answers the question, but
to be honest, I agree with James. I think there's something, they're kind of two different disciplines, but obviously neither would exist without the other. And like, you know, when we're sitting down, and there's something you can't beat about the process before anyone else is even aware of what you're doing, when you're just sitting together, the writing process essentially, or the ideas process, when you're mulling it over and you're picturing it and you're almost directing it in your head, or in our heads almost, as we're writing it in a way. But then obviously that becomes what's beautiful about being on set and starting to think about it properly is whatever ideas you had in your head, they can become completely different when you start introducing other people to the fold in terms of actors and actors having ideas and stuff like that. So that becomes although James and I collaborate together on the writing, when by nature, the more people involved on the set, it becomes a far bigger collaborative process. And I think, I'm not sure whether I'm even making sense, to be honest, but I think they both serve each other. It would be quite hard to choose one over the other.
Someone's just asked, what advice would you give to someone just starting out or someone wanting to make their first short?
Write and make films.
Yeah, just do it, mate. Honestly, just
write and make them, regardless of the budget, regardless of what it is. Just literally write what you want to say and make it. Literally no other way.
You spend far too long in life thinking about doing things and thinking, oh, I really want to do this, but I'll go and make a cup of tea first or something like that. And then like in the end, it's just about getting down and doing it. If you have an idea, just pursue it and don't stop until you get there, really.
I was just going to say also, what a big experience for me is watching a lot of films, making sure that you are kind of almost immersed in if you're interested in making films, watch as many as you can and read as much as you can as well, because you just get so much more of a broader idea about everything, and it will just inform your views. It will change your perceptions of what you like and don't like, and it will just make everything richer. So read a lot, watch a lot of films, and do it.
And also definitely have your own vision, but take on board constructive criticism, if you like, and probably most importantly, try and surround yourself with positive people as well, because
definitely
that's what you need when you're making stuff.
Do you think you'll continue to just write and direct together, or would you ever want to go off and do your own? Or do you think you work better as a team?
I think the team process is like, you can't beat work. You can't beat the things that we're writing at the moment. It's so rewarding to be able to bounce ideas off of each other. Like this morning, I'm happy to share. We're on. We're near the end of the third episode of our 6-part series that we were in, and we had like the beats down of what we were writing, and then we were writing this scene this morning, and I was kind of scribbling away, and then James, it's not like James said, it's not quite working, why don't we do this? And it's all of a sudden it becomes a whole different thing that as an individual that you're writing, you don't like any collaborative duo or whatever over the years, you're a sounding board to each other's ideas.
Absolutely, yeah. So you just see stuff the other person doesn't see, or they see stuff that you don't see, and it just makes it.
You can't beat that collaborative process. So the idea is that we can push on and try and make waves together. But of course, if James goes, I want to direct the film on my own, and it's like that, nobody's chained to each other. So, yeah, absolutely.
There's no contract.
Absolutely. Kind of relationship.
Cool. I don't know. Anyone? I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to say about the film or the process.
Basically, just echoing what James says in terms of just a big shout out to all the guys who and people who were involved in the film, the actors, Jonathan, Jermaine, John, Emmanuel, Wendy, obviously Paul as well, who's a line, Fard editing, James Gorman, Ross Turner, DOP, Joel Court, who's the editor.
All the guys that came down and helped us as extras on, who are basically friends and family, who donated a few hours of their time to help us. I won't name them all because that will go forever. But yeah, just a real big, it was a real, as I said, it was a real labour of love, and it's just inspired us to push on and do more, really. So yeah, and also thanks to you guys at Camberwell Arts for taking the time to
absolutely
our film and giving us an opportunity to talk about it. It's been a real pleasure.
No, great. Well, we look forward to hopefully seeing the series. Do you think you would want to release it as a web series?
I think the idea. I think that in the dream, like with all things, is to try and get it in front of some people with far more power than ourselves, and get it out there on the big screen. There's so much money in TV. There's so much great TV content now. I mean, we're talking about films. I mean, there's numerous TV series across the streaming channels and terrestrial TV as well they are mini films. Every episode is like a mini film, and it's really inspiring to watch. I no longer have any guilt whatsoever about sitting down and watching 7 episodes of a Netflix series. You know what I mean? So it would be the dream is what we're writing. The dream is to get into that sphere, really. But we take everything as it comes. Really, it's about getting stuff made. So.
If we can connect with a director and learn that process from more of a kind of consultancy writing process for this project, that would be something that we'd be very interested in doing. Getting, but that obviously those opportunities will come up. Whatever opportunities come up. So we, I think that answers the question.
Great. Yeah, it does. Brilliant. All right. Well, thank you very much for doing the Q&A for us.
Thank you again.
No one else has any other comments. Okay.
All great. Brill.
I don't really know.